and they're realizing what it can actually do for them. To explain that, I think the easiest way is to sort of explain what it would have been like if it's always been around. So take a place like Manhattan. It's got some of the most compacted real estate in the world. Skyscrapers, 100 stories tall. If all the people in New York wanted to be outside at the same time, they could not be. Well, imagine that was on the blockchain. What that means is you can see every single parcel that's ever existed in Manhattan, see who's ever bought it and sold it, see who currently owns it, assuming you have the privilege, see what the sales prices were for, what the surveys were. It's just this wonderful way to keep track of the data that surrounds real estate, kind of making title companies and things like that a thing of the past.
Why is now the decade of digital property management, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's because the technology's there, and people are comfortable with it. In fact, maybe too comfortable. I always joke, I have no idea what people did for work 3 years ago. I opened my business this year, and I probably get 5 or 6 calls a day with somebody trying to sell me some AI system. That's terrific. I think AI is going to be a great, great tool. I think it's going to push technology further than ever. But maybe we want to pump our brakes. Maybe we don't want to turn everything over to it right away. And some people are willing to do that, and I think that's what's driving all of this. Is just technology seems to have no fouls at this point.
What's changed to make blockchain truly work when it comes to commercial property deals? I mean, these are very old-fashioned investments, and a lot of people might be a bit terrified of new things.
Yeah, and I think it's a tool right now. I don't think it's the end all be all where you have your large real estate companies, JLL and whatnot, that are all doing their deals on the blockchain. But I do think that as the technology develops, it's a quicker way. Money never sleeps. It's an old Wall Street adage, but it applies to real estate as well. And when you look at the blockchain, it's an easy way to get information transitioned from one party to another. But you still have to record it at the county. You still have local government entities that are involved. You still have the title company that I just mentioned that's going to be involved. So it's not 100% being done automated or on the blockchain. I think that's the hope for some. We'll see what the government and regulators say about that. I doubt it just goes 100% ever.
How do smart contracts make transactions, faster and more reliable?
Yeah, it takes away the human error. So I believe I read an article that said that up to 40% of all medical notes were being transcribed via AI these days. That was shocking to me. And the immediate action is, what if the machines get it wrong? Well, the fact is humans get it wrong. So when you look at the human error, particularly with things like data input or sort of these mundane things, the human error sort of rises a bit. So technology has its place there. I'm old school. I still like a set of human eyes on top of everything, but I may be the minority on that here one day.
Yeah, I think so. Can blockchain actually really remove middlemen without losing trust, though?
Yeah, in theory it can. However, again, real estate is not nearly as regulated as the stock market, the SEC that I'm more familiar with, but it's regulated. Our government entities aren't just going to let real estate go onto the blockchain without getting their pound of flesh in terms of the tax dollars, without regulating it to some extent. So it's going to be very interesting to see what occurs in the next 10 years. It really is.
Yeah, very much so. What do you think will happen?
Wow. I was trying to come up with an analogy for this, and I said, Orville and Wilbur Wright made their first flight for a few seconds in 1903. By 1914, we had recon planes flying at the beginning of the war. By the end of the war, we had fighters and bombers. So that's a relatively quick amount of time. I think we're going to go even faster than that with this. I don't think we're going to be China, where all these technologies are completely banned. I don't think it's going to be as open as some people want, meaning you can just trade real estate however you want and sell it on your own and with zero government interaction. I don't believe that'll ever happen.
How does tokenization open the door for smaller investors?
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's something I'm really interested in. So, take that skyscraper I mentioned in Manhattan. So let's say you make that 1,000 tokens. Okay, so that building's worth 1,000 tokens, and say that you own the top, one of the floors, or you own 1/10 of it. So you could take and ultimately sell your tokens off, and then you still own a percentage in that building. So it's very much like a mutual fund. You have a mutual fund that has a group of stocks in it. Well, you're not buying, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars worth of stocks. You're just buying in as a percentage. It's exactly like that, except you're buying into a percentage of a tangible object, which happens to be a piece of real estate or land, typically a building of some sort.
And just finally, how can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more?
Yeah. So the best way to get in touch with me is GlasgowInvestments.com. That's Ron, or my email, ron@GlasgowInvestments.com.
All right. Thanks for your time. Talk soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.